yesterday.
Here we go.
Okay.
In
Awesome.
3, 2, 1.
We're live. It's Thursday evening here in Kansas City. It's rainy, it's overcast. It's the perfect weather for staying in and having a fun conversation amongst friends. My name is Tanith. I'm the Vice President of No Divide Kansas City. I'm joined by President Stacy and Board Member Jacko, and we're going to be talking with some incredible Kansas City musicians tonight. I'm so excited. So let's go ahead and get in it. Would you guys like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll go first.
Okay.
My name's Alyssa Murray. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a singer-songwriter, keyboardist, and producer. I've been in KC for about 10 years, and I came here first to study at UMKC Conservatory, and I graduated in 2014 and studied jazz piano there. And so since then, I've been on the jazz scene, performing in restaurants, been accompanying a lot with a KC Ballet and their school, as well as Owen Cox Dance Group and their community outreach program, Take the Stage. And then I've also been focusing a lot on writing my own material. My first album was a complete live studio album with a band. And then recently I released an EP called Half and Half, which was all produced and recorded in home. So it's kind of a change up for me. That's so far. So good.
What an incredible 30-second life story you just gave it. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's a lot to get through, a lot of detail.
Well, hello. My name is Stephonne Singleton. My pronouns are he, him, she, and they. I go by all pronouns. And I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm also an actor in the city with Late Night Theater, KC, and I've also worked with a lot of other production companies in the city. I primarily, though, do focus on my music and have released stuff, I want to say solo, since 2014. But I've been writing since I was 11. And I love all kinds of music. I majored in music, classical music at Benedictine College in Atchison, and came to the city and didn't have a lot of opportunities to really jump into music or acting. And so drag found me, and I was Keita Rose, live singing drag queen for years and years and years at Missy's and Hamburger Mary's, and was able to really express myself through that art form and delve myself into the community and get involved with AIDS Service Foundation and lots of different other organizations in the city as well.
I'm just blown away already. You guys wear so many hats, including backwards baseball caps. Incredible.
Yes.
And lest we forget, we have some awesome No Divide KC board members here today with us. Jacori or Jacko here with us, who is one of our newest board members. We're so happy to have you, and you're colored beautifully, you're lighted beautifully, and
Yes.
You're pumped.
I'm No Divide's new resident daddy. Every organization needs one, bringing, the energy of some age, been in the scene, and of course, I go by he, him. And yeah, I'm a visual artist, photographer, illustrator, and I also get people in shape, and I am a dancer as well. So.
He got me in shape, so.
That's right.
Sure enough. And of course, our wonderful and talented VP, Tanith. Thank you again, and incredible host as always.
Stop it, go on.
So let's get into it. We're going to show, I believe, some of at least Alyssa, this is your latest work, right? You're just talking about your newly released EP. And I checked this music video out when you released it, and I was seeing all the promotion for it. I was looking really cool. I was like, what's going on with the milk? What's going on? Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about the process? You recorded it all in your own studio. Yeah. Music video design. What's going on?
Yeah, for sure. So the EP is called Half and Half. And that really just kind of originated with me just trying to think of the next project I wanted to put out. And so it's half vocal songs and half beats. And so that's how I got half and half, and 6 total songs. And so with that title, I was thinking about like, how do I want to like visually represent this? At least, you know, maybe even for a music video for a single, and for like the imagery for the album itself. And so I brought it to Corey Martin, who lives in town, who does photography and cinematography. And yeah, he had just amazing ideas, and they were like larger than life. And I thought we were just gonna like crush some milk cartons or get some cool shots of that. And he was like, I kind of just see you like in a dunk tank of milk. And I was like, I can't say no to that. That sounds amazing. It was just so big. And I was like, that sounds great. And so the idea adjusted a little bit, and we ended up with a bathtub. But he came up with the whole color scheme for this video. And then I also had an awesome team there. I had Ebony Fondren, who's a vocalist in town, who also does musical theater. She did my styling, and it was excellent and so great on set. And I also had Liz Miller do my makeup and beauty. So it was like, I was like, if we're gonna do it, I want like that full support, you know? So yeah, it came out really well. And it's got a milk bath scene in it. In the climax. And we just originally, we were trying to play off of more of the color scheme we went with, which is like sky blue and red and white. And so I made like some red velvet pancakes. And so you'll see that in the video, and they get a little torn up to where they kind of get more obscure. And I've heard people be like, what's that exactly happening in the video? But they're red velvet pancakes. And yeah, there's a lot of milk. There's also a reference to, there's a mini fridge, and there's a song on my EP called Put It on the Fridge. So that's a reference to that song. And then there's also 2 peaches on the table. And
so there's like a lot of food.
Yeah.
Are the names of all the tracks like food related?
That was another funny thing we just ended up reflecting on. It just kind of has a breakfast theme. Like after our first meeting, we're like, wow, this really fits well at like the breakfast table. So it just kind of happened. It just all came together.
Cool. I kind of feel like we have to see it now rather than talk more about it. We might as well just show it for you all. And while I get this queued up, Alyssa, where can we, after this, where can we go watch it over and over and over again?
Yeah, for sure. I think if you just go directly to my website, Alyssa Murray Music, that's got a direct link to my YouTube channel. I think that's the best way to get to it.
Awesome. So let's turn off our cameras and get this video rolling. Stacy, I think the sound for the video is off. We can't hear the amazing music. You know, it's not a live stream unless something goes wrong. I think that's just absolutely necessary for technology to give us a small hiccup or 5. You know how it goes.
Let me just try that again. I will keep myself non-muted this time. My bad, everyone.
Thank you for your service. Sign me up right now. There's no doubt, no need to try for size. Fully aware and realized. Better keep good pace. I know this race, but I should finish line. Haven't pulled the chain, but it's time till my daydream fades. Am I naughty or too nice? Nobody is perfect, but thank you for your service. Every day's the same. Merry-go-round I go. Got a little further. You're my favorite song. Till my daydream fades. Am I naughty or too nice? Nobody is perfect, but thank you for your service. Every day's the same. Oh, merry-go-round I go. Got a little further. You're my favorite song.
I don't know if you can hear me clapping.
Ah!
Great.
That was stunning. I love the color choices. Visually, I was just ensnared by the
Thank you.
use of primary colors. And now, like, I already ate, but now I want some, brunch food.
Yeah. Most definitely. Yeah, it was so much fun to shoot. I hadn't done a music video like that. And I think one of the reasons why I just wanted to like honor this one was just I hadn't done much production for myself before this year, especially with the pandemic kind of forcing everybody in home. So it was just really exciting to think like, oh, for this next project, I can just come back here to my bedroom versus like before I was thinking like, do I get a band? Like, how do I perform this or, realize this? So that's kind of why I was like, let's go with the music video all the way.
Yeah, I know. Can you, well, I mean, I vibe with you because we're music school kids. I'm not a jazz person at all. And that's really heavily influenced in your work. But like, your path to production and synth and electronic music and like just kind of art pop is, I feel it.
Yes.
But you have a life partner, right? Is that,
yeah.
that also collaborates with you, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, definitely. And that was kind of like probably even the seed to this project. Like Adam, man, he got into production. He's a jazz guitarist, and I met him at UMKC. That's how we kind of crossed paths. And he got into production like in 2016, like way, way, way before, and started kind of just making like, foundational beats for himself and his music. And I kind of got exposed to it that way. And we both were like, well, maybe let's collaborate a bit. And so we co-wrote some tunes, and we set up a live performance, kind of a short one, at a Charlotte Street capsule event. And it was a lot of fun. And, we learned a lot in that process, like teamwork wise, and as well as just musically too.
So like the whole production thing with both of you is kind of like you just started doing it fairly recently, and that's how now you have like a little den in your home.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I have my own little like private studio, and like last year we started working on the recordings for Merman, which is the project name, and it was kind of like it was just time for me to also find myself with the production side of things. So I moved into the second bedroom and started collecting gear and speakers. And I already had a synthesizer that I'd purchased kind of centered around that project too, but I dove way more into it. And also found a lot of online beat communities via Twitch and like Discord. And those were like huge and introduced me to artists I really love, and just, kind of peers, like a peer network. And it's people like all across the world.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Get on that.
Yeah.
Alyssa, when did you write this song?
This song, I wrote it in November.
Of 2020?
Yeah, the 2020. Yep.
In the video?
Yeah, and the video was shot in February, late February.
Of 2021?
2021, yep.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, this was the last vocal song for me to like wrap up and write and produce. And then I still had a couple of the instrumentals a little bit, but this project kind of came together like kind of quickly.
It's really interesting to me that, the reason why I ask is because you're kind of playing with these Americana colors in the video with this theme of milk or whiteness. And I just wonder, like, after so much of the protests of this summer and what's been going on politically, if that was a conscious choice to go that way with the video and the song, or if I'm just reading more into it.
It wasn't related to that as much. It wasn't a conscious choice. If that, the American colors, I feel were like, even Corey got who is the videographer, got some flack from his wife about it. Like, is this a patriotic move to have those colors?
Yeah.
But it was purely just like aesthetic.
No, it's interesting. It really is, considering the song is talking about nobody's perfect, and you have this theme of whiteness in there. It's really,
it could be. I could easily see it being commentary on. That's a good point.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah. I would have pulled that from that song for sure. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. A personal take on it. I wrote this song it's about like fantasy informing reality in ways, and how fantasy can be used in a positive way to kind of influence your reality or influence your choices in a practical way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so where can we get the whole EP?
It's actually everywhere. It could be on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music. You can find it on YouTube. I guess I just said YouTube. You can find it on my website. Bandcamp is the best place to purchase.
Oh, okay.
In full. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I want to check out some of the beats, the beat making.
Yes.
Process. Yeah.
Yes, it's the even tracks are the beats. So like 2, 4, and 6.
So like, how do you? I like to ask this with almost everyone. Like, how do you see all the different paths of your work? Like, what do you think is kind of like the center of what you do? And like, what are these other things that you do?
Yeah, I feel like the center of my work, it's always been about singer-songwriter. I feel like even when I first started guitar, that's like kind of what my headspace was. That's what I've always imagined myself doing. And when I think about the music I've been into, it's like throughout all of it, it usually involves like vocals and some sort of song. And so that's always been kind of a main focal point for me. But I also love instrumentals or even like making my beats because you get to explore like way more different textures. The vocal isn't going to be the main focus of the music, which like sometimes vocals can be like they kind of need a certain attention and catering to. And like with Thanks actually that we just listened to, that beginning actually used a lot of vocals and manipulated a lot of vocal pads that I made. So that beginning part, it kind of sounds like a synthesizer, but it's actually a 3-part vocal that I've kind of manipulated a bit.
Let's get nerdy. What are your favorite vocal plugins? What do you use?
Yeah, I've been using a lot of like Sound Toys' Little Ultra Boy. I use that one a lot. And then it's all Sound Toys right now. So like Echo Boy, I use a lot for delay. And then I use like Valhalla Vintage for the verb.
Do you have any hardware for vocal manipulation at all?
I actually don't right now.
Yeah, no, you don't have. I really like Isotope's vocal synth. That's like the main thing that I use, which is in the, that's the plugin that you can go and get. It's Isotope, which is, anyway, I nerd out on that.
Nerd out on that. That's awesome. Actually, I do have the Isotope, like Ozone.
Yes.
And,
right.
Yes.
That's wow. That's great that you have that.
Yeah.
I have never bit the bullet with purchasing.
Yeah, I think it was Adam bought it on sale. Here's the benefit of having a partner who also produces. We just split a lot of like licensing plugins.
Well, that's great. That's really good for all of your production. The vocal synth is just like a tool, for vocal manipulation and layering and stuff. But I think you'd really like it. Yeah, it's cheaper.
So awesome. I think I've seen Rachel Collier use it. Yeah.
It's a good one. I have
a question for both of Stephonne and Alyssa and Stacy, just musician as well. Talking about vocals, is there a point where you feel like the vocal is done and you just say, okay, I can't do anything else with this? Or do you reach a point where you say, I'm just gonna walk away from it and let it be?
I have to say that I am so critical, even though I've been singing and hearing my voice now for years and years and years. It's so funny, you'll record something and you feel good about the quality of it. You feel good about the moment, but you'll be listening to it a month later, 2 months later, and be like, damn, I could have did that. Or I could have added this harmony. Or there's this particular flaw there that no one else would ever notice. It's like these minuscule things that no one cares about. And a lot of times that's where the truth of a vocal comes through, is in the imperfections. And so I find when you belabor a vocal, when you belabor any part of a song, what happens is you overwork it and you get away from the purpose of the lyrics, the material, the intent behind the song and the production. And so what I have had to do is really trust my engineer, Justin Mantooth at Weston Recording Studios, who just knows my voice in and out and knows the right mics, knows the take, and knows how much to push me. And I also know I can be like, oh, I can do that better. But he also knows when to be like, we got it. Because at the end of the day, I could do a vocal 1,000 times over. And you have to let it go. You have to ask yourself, am I serving the song or am I not? And I think it's harder sometimes, and you could maybe speak to this, Alyssa, when you're self-producing and you don't have a lot of other people around you to really kind of obsess over things. And I really have to, after I demo and I write my chords and my lyrics and kind of deliver stuff to the band, kind of just let the pieces fall where they lay and let it breathe.
Yeah, and Stephonne, you're approaching this from like a vocalist, like that is your instrument. And because I think that's a difference too. Like Alyssa, I don't know if you think of you said singer-songwriter, but I know you play piano. But Stephonne, you're approaching it, as truly a vocalist. And so I think that's a different experience too. You can be very, just like anyone with their instrument is so, particular and, knows it better than anyone else.
Yeah, and I feel like my biggest influences are Prince and Billie Holiday, right? And so even though Prince plays all of these musical instruments and expresses himself through so many different mediums in that way, there is a vocal quality to his screams and to his falsetto. There's a perfection in the falsetto and the high voice that Michael Jackson has. Billie Holiday, oh my gosh, has the most unique tone ever. And it's a way that the vibe and the emotion comes through this rasp and this warmness of life. And so I am a little bit more preoccupied with that, right? Because it's my primary instrument. And I use the keyboard to write and demo. But when it comes to playing live, I'm like, let me hire my posse real quick and get them up here on the stage so I can focus on the voice. And I think that that's something that everyone can relate to, especially in the audience, because we all have that talent. We can talk, we can conversate, we can hum a tune, we can sing in the shower or the car, right? And so I think it's a way that's more direct to connect to a listener than maybe an instrument sometimes. Yeah, you're right. I guess I do focus more on that for sure.
Well, it's just like it's your craft. And Alyssa, what do you think?
Yeah, I feel kind of what Stephonne was talking about, like, he mentioned, like, how do you know when to move on from your take? And kind of like, you kind of have to think when you're covering different roles. It's like, I have to think as like an artist sometimes. And I also have to think of the producer who's like, okay, that was good. That was a good enough performance to like take it to wherever I'd like to. And so I think one thing I've reflected on doing my own vocals, it just took a lot of trial and error at first, like just figuring out, especially for like lead vocals where I'm trying to get like clean, supported takes basically. Like I just had a lot of trial and error. I was like too far from the microphone, too much like room noise. So just like getting that setup all figured out kind of took some time. And then also how I was singing, was so used to singing live and in bars and in restaurants. That is actually not how you have to sing in the studio. And it's just like, that was like another kind of goofy thing to realize this year. I was like, oh my God, and it's just, that opened up a whole world. Cause it's like, oh wow, I'm not doing like trying to sing over people kind of vocal, or just a more full voice. Like you can mix with the timbre of your voice a lot more and kind of consider that. Yeah.
To kind of relate that, like coming from like a painter background, I do abstract painting and whatnot. Like there's definitely a time where you have to say, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, cause you can keep working it and working it and working it. And then it becomes, at least with paint, it becomes kind of a muddled mess. And like, then you completely lose the whole picture of what you were looking at. So I can relate in that way, right? Like I think if you work too hard with any part of the song, right, like you can lose the vision and the big picture of what it's supposed to be. But paint's a little bit different because you can actually lose the picture of what it's supposed to be, especially if you're like, let me keep futzing with this. Oh no, I have a completely new different color.
Well, and there's overproduction, right? That can happen with paint, right? But it can also happen vocally, with instrumentation, with theatrical productions. There can always be too much of something. And I think that that's something that's really important as an artist too, is to know how to edit yourself. Because I think the more cluttered something is, the harder it is for someone to tap into it and really kind of have an experience of their own with it. And so you have to really be cautious of that. I would say that goes to all mediums for sure.
Yeah, Stephonne, it sounds like what you're talking about now, like you're very focused on aesthetic and like, not just, what your art is saying, and kind of the whole picture of what it is speaking to and representing, and I think that's really powerful. Like, when did you start thinking about that, and how has that journey been?
I started thinking about the big picture when I was writing songs at 10, 11. I didn't have any training at that point, and all I knew was that I loved my mom and my dad's records, and I would wear them out, and I probably scratched some, and I probably got spanked a couple times. But I would read the liner notes, and I would be like, who was responsible for all of these things? And I would see videos of live performances, and I would see the horn section, and I would see the guitar and the drums. And so all I had was my pen and my little notebook, and I would literally write my lyrics out, but I would hum all of the different parts of the different instruments to myself, and I would hear the full composition in my head the way that it was supposed to sound. And as a little kid, you're like trying to explain this stuff to adults, and they're like, all right, kid, you know what I mean? Because I couldn't play all of the instruments for them. And I think that was a big thing for me that persisted until I got my music education at Benedictine and learned about theory and learned about composition. And even then, I was still very insecure about applying that knowledge to pop music and applying that knowledge to R&B and all of these other things. I just thought that I was a vocalist, and I could write songs, but I didn't know that I could be a producer as well. No one ever was like, yeah, go do that. I really had to come to a place of, no, this is exactly what I want to convey, and this other person or this beat from this person or whatever can't convey that fully. And so I wanted to make sure when I really started in on the first record, Cage Bird Sing Songs About Redbeard, that was really clear. And I met Jamie Cyril, who I worked with on that project. And even at that point, I had written some stuff on the keyboard and had chords and all of that kind of stuff, but I still didn't really trust myself completely with the aesthetic. And what I learned was that it can quickly become something that is not fully yours when you give over that responsibility and that power to someone else, to that production, to that engineer. And I love that album with my whole heart, but I will say that I can't fully claim it. You know what I mean? In some ways, shape, or form. And so after that, and after going to New York and doing the showcase, God, what year was that? 2017, 2018. This song called Want Me came to me, and I knew everything. It came rushing to me right away. I had gone through all of these steps with this other person kind of directing everything, sometimes against what I knew I needed or wanted, but I didn't see myself as worthy enough of exacting or executing my vision. But this was it. I saw it. I saw the looks. I saw the makeup. I saw the sound. I knew I wanted to delve heavily into alternative rock, but I wanted it to collide with R&B. I wanted it to have the jazz sensibility that I heard from those Billie Holiday records and from those Duke Ellington records and those Miles Davis records. I wanted it to have the folk and the songwriting sensibilities of the greats like Joni Mitchell and even Sarah McLachlan, because I'm super queer and
the arms of the angel.
Yes, I have the servicing cassette tape, baby. And I was in love with so many different people. And I would play that thing over and over in my little room, just so sad, because of unrequited love. And so all of that stuff just collided and mixed together. And I knew it was time for me to just take the reins. And I was able to connect with some brilliant musicians, Johnny Hamill on bass, Ben Byard on guitar, Adam McKee on drums, and I had worked with Justin Mantooth already. And I said, hey, do you guys want to get together and help me out with these songs? And I wrote every single chord. I wrote every single melody. And I got them that material, and we were able to vibe and really come up with the core of these songs and get into the studio. but it was my vehicle and it was my vision. And so that inspired me to keep writing. And what I thought was just going to be a single turned into an EP, Cis Side A. And I'm so proud of that thing. And I had worked on some of those songs for years. And I don't know, Alyssa, if you've had this experience, or Stacey, you've had this experience, but sometimes you'll write something and it'll sit for a while. Like you'll write like a verse and a chorus, or you'll have some kind of idea and you'll be like, okay, I'll come back to it. And then you can't come back to it until you've like lived some experience, or you've it's all about timing, right? So a lot of these songs I went back to and I was like, yes, this is it. This is the time. This is where this fits. And then Cis Side A became this greater thing, which will become a full album, Cis, Summoning Insatiable Spirits is what that stands for. I also say cis after every single thing that I say, just, for effect and because it's awesome. And I used to hear my aunties and my mom say it. And as a drag queen, you grow up hearing everything, all of the language, all of the queer Black language, because let's be honest, gay culture, queer culture is Black culture. Anyway.
We only speak facts here on this show.
Facts are facts, baby.
Facts don't care about feelings, as we all know.
I love that. So yeah, Summoning Insatiable Spirits is what I do. I summon my experiences, my joy, my pain, my torture, my love loss, my love, my lust, my insecurities, and it's a way of me exercising my demons. It's so cathartic. I write everything from a personal experience. And so Cis Side B is what we've been working on right now. So much stuff. And we've been in the studio. We actually got the basis for 10 songs done in 10 hours. We added a Hafia Jerkowitz Miles to the mix on the keyboard. Best edition ever. And got in and just did the work and was so exhausted after that. But there's going to be a new single coming out next month that I'm really hyped about. And then Side B, and then Cis. Well, another single before that, and then a Christmas song, because I wrote a holiday song finally. And then in January, my birthday month, will be the full shebang. So I always seen a whole picture, but it took me all of this time. Even when I thought that I was ready to execute it, I wasn't. I needed to live more life, and I needed to experience what it's like to not fully drive your own dream, for me to actually take the wheel. And it feels damn good to be here right now in this place.
That is so well spoken. I couldn't agree more with that. And I personally think I agree with you about the artistic process and experience, that like the process isn't done in the studio. It's out there living your life and going through life and working, having all of those experiences, and then like being able to come in and just like summon that energy. It's not about, the time that you spend in the recording and the technology and the, all of that. I think for me, that is what an artist is being able to tap into that place, and that is the practice, and no matter what medium you're in. And so it sounds like, you're working towards that. And it's like, just gets more and more deeper and deeper, and the connection and the ability to call on that and the amount of energy that you can summon just will get richer and bigger. So I'm very excited to see both of you, everything that's coming up. But I think it's time to show some of Stephonne's work here. I'm gonna try not to have technical issues. So do you want to talk a little bit about this acoustic official music video for Beautiful Life?
Yeah, so Una Walkenhorst, who is amazing, hit me up for Green Line Grows, which was the Green Line initiative to help build Black generational wealth and get us into housing, without all of the redlining challenges that we face, especially here in Kansas City, but all over the US, right? And I had written this when all of the protests were happening and George Floyd had happened. And it was a challenge for me because usually I write from a place that's really personal and about relationships and about boys and boys and boys and girls. And when I think of writing something that is a statement like Beautiful Life is, I can't help but think of Bob Dylan, and I can't help but think of artists that make those really powerful statements, but do it in such an eloquent, poetic way that doesn't really hammer anything over the head, that's symbolic, but that's still to the point, but that's still, you know what I mean? Like I really labored over like, how do I express what I feel right now? And I just kind of gave up and and just kind of let my mind wander, and I just stewed in it for a while. And I think the song is like 3 chords, which honestly is like the best songs are like 2 to 3 chords. And I just spoke about my experience as a Black queer man in the United States and as a Black queer human in the United States, and said what I had to say, and said also what I learned from history and what I learned from the history that hasn't been taught to us about the Black experience all over the world, because anti-Blackness is worldwide. It's not just a United States issue and problem. And Beautiful Life came out. I assembled a great team, Katie Gilchrist and Mark Johnson, her partner, said, come over. And during the pandemic, which was so sweet, we were super safe. We all wore a mask and were super distanced and disinfected. And we got together and did this video, and I edited it all by myself. And the pandemic, if it's done anything for us, it's just, we've had to wear so many different hats. We've had to learn how to do so many different things because we're all separated. And I just feel really, really proud of this work and knew that besides Greenline Initiative, it needed to be released, and it was something that needed to be heard. And I'm excited for the studio version, which will feature the full band. But this still packs such a punch, and I hope that you enjoy it.
Yes. Yes.
And with that,
it's a beautiful life, so fucking beautiful, yeah, so fucking beautiful, beautiful life. It's a beautiful life, so fucking beautiful, yeah, so fucking beautiful, beautiful life. My skin is black and my fade real low. Guess I better drive slow or get shot by the pole. I'm gay as fuck and I know that you know. Maybe that's why I spend so much money. I can make this telling me, be me and you can be you. That's all we got to do, it's true. But we don't get to choose. Gotta play by your rules. Why you gotta sing it from a news? It's so beautiful. So fucking beautiful, yeah, so fucking beautiful, a beautiful life. It's a beautiful life. So fucking beautiful, yeah, so fucking beautiful, a beautiful life. We'll say 2 + 2 = 4. Don't say it's 1. What the fuck have we done? Y'all know that I'm not violent, but I keep the Newports in the trunk. Don't try to tell me that I can't smoke a blunt when the world come undone. Said the world come undone. It's a beautiful life. So fucking beautiful, yeah, so fucking beautiful, a beautiful life. Yeah. It's a beautiful life. So fucking beautiful, yeah, so fucking beautiful. Free me, NASA, free me, free me. Free me, crack cocaine, free me. Free me, Mr. White Man, free me. Free me, indigenous lands, free me. Free me while you still can, free me. I said, free me, I'm your brother, man, free me. Beautiful life, so fucking beautiful, yeah, so fucking beautiful, beautiful life. It's a beautiful life, so fucking beautiful, yeah, so fucking beautiful, a beautiful life. It's a beautiful life, so fucking beautiful, yeah, so fucking beautiful, a beautiful life.
Yeah.
Thanks.
To clap so close to my microphone.
ASMR.
ASMR clapping for your viewing pleasure. Stephonne, what I really noticed about your piece also, even though you're pulling from this personal history and harm and violence, there's also so much joy in your piece. There's so much beauty in it, and coming from a trans fat perspective, joy is resistance, and just declaring it's a fucking beautiful life, incredible, you're here, you're queer, you're living, and you're thriving, and I think that's such a wonderful thing.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's something I thought about a lot during the protests, and I think every day of my life is, what can I do? And I think that what is revolutionary, especially being a Black queer person and being queer, is just living and living joyfully. I think that makes oppression angrier than anything else, right? Succeeding despite adversity, and viewing all of these traumas and tragedies and awful possibilities as opportunities to really, really, really change the narrative and to, I think, change the narrative for yourself. I think that we all have that opportunity, no matter how much is stacked against us. And I think that the pandemic really showed me that and really taught me about resilience. And I'm really proud of you. If you are Black out there and you are still alive, I'm proud of you. That is monumental, to wake up every day and to breathe and to get through it, and to have to code switch and to have to get in your car and go somewhere and wonder if this is my last day to be alive, and still get in your car and go somewhere is such a monumental feat. And then you add the queer experience to that, and let me tell you, it is not a walk in the park, but there is still beauty. As Tanith was saying, I think I speak about it a little bit more sarcastically, especially when I say so fucking beautiful. But life truly is so beautiful, even when it's its darkest. And I think you're able to really truly see the beauty because you went through the darkness and because of those awful human conditions that we've put ourselves through. You know what I mean? As a human race. So yeah.
I think it is radical. Expressing joy and living fully in yourself, particularly for people of color, for queer people, for trans people, for, immigrant refugee people. I mean, it's radical and it is resistance. It is. And I'm proud of you for putting it out there, and that, No Divide, we can lift up these voices, because it is important to share. And I thought it's a wonderful piece. I think it's something, when you're editing yourself and when you're performing yourself, I mean, I can see in your work that you are fully creating your aesthetic. And I think that will get more, and it's already potent, but even as you go, it's going to get even more potent. And I think that's sometimes what a lot of artists miss, is the things that you're thinking about and how to articulate that in yourself and how that will express itself in your art, and all of the things that go into making an artist and making art. It's all there, and that we're all artists here in some way. And I think that's what draws us to it, and that's what's cathartic about it, and that's what's fulfilling about it. And so really enjoyed talking to both of you tonight. I feel I'm like, whoa, we're already almost out of time. I could keep talking for a long time. Other thoughts? Jacka, what do you got to say?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of piggyback on what you said, I think that it's important for queer artists of color to live authentically. And I love seeing another queer person of color doing that. I also think it's important to not feel like you have to censor yourself, and if you feel rage, if you feel anger, all artists, I think, but especially artists of color, I think you've got to let it come out, because we have a pressure on us to always have a smile and an optimism. And I think that that's not always real life. And so, like your song, I mean, you saying It's a Beautiful Life, fucking beautiful, is an acknowledgement to me of that reality. So that's.
Yeah, I think in the performance and in the way, and in the text itself, there is an irony and a, sarcasm to expressing it that way, and the phrase.
And it took me a really long time to feel comfortable expressing that as a Black man, because you're seen as this angry, aggressive, whatever kind of a person. And I've always had a sense of humor, and especially in doing pop music and doing R&B. I really thought about how in rap, and artists like K. Michelle, who's hilarious, by the way, if you haven't listened to it lyrically, the way that they're able to really be authentically, completely themselves and say these things, and use sarcasm and use these different tones, is spectacular. And that's something that I wanted to capture throughout this entire project. And I'm just really excited for everyone to hear it, because it sounds so good and it's so funny, but it's also sexy and it's self-empowering, and it's not just about being lovesick, which is, a favorite topic of mine, because I like to torture myself. And I'm just really excited to finally be in this confident place and be able to write this material that isn't just wallowing anymore, that really, really reflects my confidence. And I think aesthetically, you're going to see that. I worked with John Brandt on a lot of the photography for the album, and these, I mean, I'm so excited.
So where can, oh, go ahead, Stacey.
Oh, I was gonna ask Stephonne, where can we find it all? What can we expect? But I was gonna say, like, it seems like actually Alyssa and Stephonne, the quarantine in this past year, in a way, kind of you are paralleling each other. You're stepping into a more like fully creative role and like express that you've had this time and this space to like really tap into like what is making you authentically you and what really is your aesthetic and your voice as artists, and in each of these separate projects. So it's been interesting to like hear you both talk about that. It makes me really excited. And then yeah, Tanith, let's get the plugs.
Yeah, www.stephonne.com. You can find it all there. I own that website. I don't even know how I got it because there's other people with that name spelling. But links to Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, all of it are there. I just worked on a new single with Lee Walter Redding called Elephant Man, which deals with Black men diagnosed with schizophrenia. Super important song. Joshua Davison wrote that. So when you go there, you'll see that and be able to click play, and that'll go in for you. But you can find me, like I said, on every streaming service, and we have a lot of gigs coming up. So please keep an eye out for that. Follow me on Bands in Town and all of the tour sites, and we'll see you soon. I'm excited.
Cool. Tanith, you wanna?
Alyssa, where are you though?
Yes, yeah. My website is also a good place to catch all my links. It's alyssamurraymusic.com. I have some teaching information there too. I teach piano, voice. That's kind of my main grind. Yeah, and you can find me on Spotify. That's probably a really nice place to follow me if you're generous. Even if don't use Spotify a lot, take a follow there. And yeah, Apple Music, YouTube, the usual.
Purchase things
Yes.
on Bandcamp.
Yes, most definitely.
Buy their music. Buy their music. You want it. This is the music you're looking for. But to wrap things up, thank you, Stephonne and Alyssa, for spending your evening with us. We really enjoyed your company and the conversation that we had with you. Next week, Thursday at 7:30, we're having our monthly hot dish where we'll be talking about mental health. As many people know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, along with all sorts of other things that we're celebrating this month. But check in next week. I know Stacy and Jacko will also be on there. So if you, excuse me, I just had a moment. You know how it goes. Woo. So if you want to see their faces again, definitely come join us next week. And then keep an eye on our socials at No Divide KC for upcoming ticket announcements for our first in-person show in a year called Win Time, where Stacy was the composer for this piece, and it looks at addiction and youth and kind of walking through the program through rehabilitation. And it's going to be deep and exciting and a really cool blend of new music and new theater. So we're really excited about that. Keep your eyes on the prize. Again, thank you, Stephonne and Alyssa. We're so happy that you could join us, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you all so